Hello everyone, and welcome to my Transgender blog. I'm Nicole D'Angelo, and this one is for the week of the 27th of July, 2015. So what brings me here today to talk to you has to do a little bit about a recent visit I had from my dad, who now lives in Florida. My dad has been my dad not all my life, but for most of my life. My dad is my stepfather, but pretty much he was the male influence in my life for most of it from the time I was like 13 on. He's been very supportive of me since finding out about my being transgender and wanting to transition, and supported me fully throughout. But this past week, I had something that really did hit a nerve. And it didn't upset me. It made me feel a little bit like, am I being clear? Do I explain things correctly? Am I being too dramatic? And what he asked me was, when did I know? And I think the reason that he's starting to ask these questions is that the whole Caitlyn Jenner being in the media at this point makes transgenderism a really, it's a hot topic, right? Whether it's young kids that are now coming out to their parents, and parents are trying to support other parents to do the same thing, in other words, support their transgender children, or it's older folks like myself have transitioned in their 40s and 50s. So what he asked me was, when did I know? And when I told him, I've always felt this way, I can't remember a time in my life that I didn't feel this way, he kind of was a little bit confused. And I was like, I've always told you this, and I thought you understood this. He goes, no, I don't understand it. You had a wife and kids, you were in the Marines, you played hockey, you had girlfriends, you were always seemed masculine. Well, that's because up until the point when I was 13, I used to do things that weren't so masculine. And I learned to hide it. It was also said it was very bad. I remember people being called sissy and being beaten up because they weren't macho. And when I went to school in New Jersey, because I was living in Jersey for elementary school, if you weren't macho, you were a sissy and people would pick on you and beat you up. So my life taught me to hide it, and I became very good at hiding it. So good that I get these questions from people that have known me all my life that didn't know me here but knew me on the outside. So when they're looking at me now, they may support me, but they're kind of confused and they want to know why, how, and when did this all change. The hardest thing in the world is to explain that to somebody, because they really have to step into their own bodies and say, when did I realize that I was male, or when did I realize I was female, depending on who's asking you. And it really doesn't hit, right? Because you just are. You are what you are. The issue here is that it's so bad in my age group to be the way I am, that if you come out early, back in the 1970s, 1960s, as saying you were a girl, you probably wouldn't have made it very far. Today, I look at families that actually support their transgendered youth, their transgendered children. I look at them as being saints. I look at them as being progressive. I look at them and thank them for doing the right thing. It's a hard path to walk. It's a hard place to be, to do this later in life, after you've already made friends, close friends, had spouses, have created children. It's very difficult to walk this path. If you're right now in your 20s and you're contemplating this, am I or am I not transgender, I ask you to take a look at yourself and then take a look at me and ask you this. Ask yourself if you want to be explaining this to children later on in life. It's best to do it early. It's best to come out early, as you're going to be more supported today than we were back when I was in my youth. So for those people that have parents like mine, don't hold it against them. We were all raised to think that this wasn't right. We were raised to think that macho was the only way to be if you were born male. But today, as eyes open, today, as the world starts to accept those of us that are transgender, it's an easier time for you to transition early in life. And thank you to all the parents that have definitely given your children the opportunity to be who they are early in life. So I got for you today a couple of questions came through about sex, and I'm going to try to do that next time because I really need to get my thoughts straight. Some people say, how does it feel now? Who have I been with? And I think that's a conversation we could have here. I don't want it to get raunchy and dirty, but it is something to understand that on the other side, there is this kind of awkwardness about sex because you lived so long one way and now you are another way. It's tough to change roles, but not impossible. All right, that's all I have for you today. I will talk to you again in a week. Thank you very much for watching me. And if you do have questions, leave them below in the comments section. Click the thumbs up button and share it with any of your friends that might be going through the same thing that myself or you all might be going through. Thank you and have a great week. Bye.